And one of the games that we used to play used to be a game, and sometimes this man was used, or sometimes a zoo was used. Now what happened was, everyone was in a line, and everyone was given an animal. So, you might have been an elephant, and you might have been a zebra, and you might have been a horse, and someone else might have been a dog, and the way the story would have went was, there was a horse, and then whenever the horse was shouted, the horse would have had to run around everybody, and then run around and get back to his seat. And the story continued, and all the names were mentioned, and then every time that the zoo was mentioned, then, or the ark was mentioned, then everyone would have to do the big loop and run around and find their seat again. So, do any of you know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about a game that has lots of animals? And possibly, yeah? Noah, exactly. So, we're talking about Noah. Who was Noah? Well, Noah, he was born, and his dad was a man named Lamech. His grandfather was a man named Methuselah. And now Methuselah, he is the longest recorded life in the Bible. Does anyone, adults included, know what age Methuselah lived to?
960 something?
Yeah. 960 something? John, I think, said it.
969.
Yes, Methuselah lived to 969, which as far as I know is the oldest recorded man in the Bible. So, if we're looking at Noah, we're looking into Genesis 5, 6, 7 and 8, and long, long ago, people were making bad choices, which you can read about in Genesis 6, and they were doing things that was wrong, and, you know, God didn't like this. He really didn't like this, but he realized that Noah loved God, Noah listened to God, and Noah was trying to do what was right, even though no one else did. Now, when Noah was about 500 years old, he had 3 children. He called them Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And you know, one day God spoke to Noah, and it says this in Genesis 6 and verse 7. And it says, I will blot out man, whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. And then God gave Noah a bit of a strange job. And he said to Noah to build a big boat. Now, we read in Genesis 6 and verse 14, and it says, make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark 300 cubits, and its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark and finish it to a cubit above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower second and third decks. So, Noah must have went and he must have got his tools. Now, do you think Noah went and he got a tool like this? Do you think he got a tool like this?
Yes.
Yes or no? No, Noah didn't have this. And I doubt he had a bag like this either. But what I do have is one of these. Now I hope this wasn't broken because I think I broke it last night and was trying to put it back together again. But what it does say is it says you're to make an ark that is 300 cubits in length. Now, you're asking me, what is a cubit? And I asked the same question. Whenever I looked up what a cubit is, a cubit was the measurement from your elbow to the top of your fingers. So that's how they measured things. They measured things like that. So you can just imagine, and went down, oh, that there's about a cubit for me there. And that's how things is measured. So if we're measuring this, and Gordy puts his arm up, so top of his fingers, so Gordy's is about 19 inches. Mine is about, I think I figured it out last night, it was about 17 inches. So we don't know the exact size this was, because we don't know how big Noah was. But if we take rough measurements, that Noah was maybe had an arm length between 17. We'll say I'm pretty small. I'm probably as small as most men would be. And then you've someone who's quite tall who might be 19 or 20 inches. So if you have someone who is 17 inches and you multiply 17 times 300, does anyone know what that is? Anyone good at maths? Well, that's Claire, will it? Now, if you're wise, you know you don't ask Claire that question. Unless she's a calculator in her hand, you don't ask her that question. Well, if I've done the multiplication right, 17 inches times 300 is 5,100 inches. So that would be, for someone my height, building the ark, and I'm pretty small. So that means that it would be 5,100 inches, which roughly calculated is 130 meters. Can I have a volunteer? I want to pick Keenan. Come and pull this out. I'm going to pull this out. You just go to that other end and pull it a wee bit. Oh, we're here. We're at the end. We're at the end. Okay, so that is about 5 meters. Okay? So for context, the ark was 130 meters in length. So if this is 5 meters, nearly the width of this hall, the length of the ark was quite a lot longer. You know, so how many times does 130 go into 5? That's a question. Is it 60 would be in? No. How many goes into 100? Does anyone know the answer? 26. So 26 times this. 26 of these would be the length of the ark. I was building the ark, but I'm very short, so it's probably bigger than that again. If you had someone who had a cubit length of 20 inches, you would find that it would be 152 meters long. So that's quite a bit longer again. That's another 22 meters. So as we can see, the ark was very big. We also learned, actually, thank you, Keenan, you can sit down. We also learned that sometimes they actually used what is known as a royal cubit. And this is maybe going a little bit further in depth. But what they did was the royals wanted to make themselves look big, and a lot of the ancient things, they found that they used the royal cubit, which is the distance from here to here, and then plus 4 fingers. Just because, I don't know, they wanted to make themselves even bigger. But you'll find in very ancient buildings, very often they were measured in royal cubits. So we don't actually know whether Noah used a standard cubit or a royal cubit. So we don't know what height Noah was or anything like that. But what we do know is Noah was in dry land that, probably was, I don't know how much rain they got, but I imagine building a ship that is 130 meters or 150 meters long seemed absolutely crazy. And now we'll have to remember that the ship was also 30 cubits high. So what is that? Is that 15 meters? I'm not sure, but it's going to be really high. It's going to be higher than this room. So this was a big, big, big ship. But Noah was in dry land, but he got to work, and we don't know what tools he had. I don't know what tools he had. He might have manufactured his own hammer. He might have managed to make something to build the thing. But what we do know is this ship was huge. It was a huge undertaking. But what we know is Noah obeyed God. And that's a really important thing. that despite the fact that the dimensions of this ship that God gave to Noah was absolutely huge, despite the fact that Noah was on dry ground and that people might have thought, well, what is this guy doing? Noah obeyed God. So, my message to you today is that even when things feel strange, trust God. And even when others don't understand, obey God. And sometimes that's very difficult to do whenever you're in a situation or a scenario when people don't understand what you're doing or why you're doing things, that you follow God's laws and that you do what God tells you to do. So my message to everyone in here, kids included, is